Hi guys, this is Natanya,
I'm Sarah.
I'm Elisa.
and we're doing the myth of the bilingual baby.
Our article is called Raising a Bilingual Child, the Top 5 Myths by Roxana A. Soto.
Okay, so our first myth is growing up with more than one language confuses children. Is it true that if a child is exposed to more than one language that he or she will become confused and not be able to differentiate between them? The answer is no. All infants can tell the difference between many languages, says Barbara Zura Pearson, author of Raising a Bilingual Child. Some older research has indicated that children who were exposed to two or more languages were at a disadvantage, when in reality babies around the age of 6 months can tell the difference between languages.
Our second myth is raising a child to be bilingual leads to speech delays. Parents are concerned that raising a bilingual baby will lead to speech delays. Studies have found that children with language delays who are in dual language environments gain language at the same rate as those in monolingual environments, says Al Kester, the president of Bilinguistics. According to the article, raising a bilingual baby does not necessarily lead the child to have speech or language delays.
Our third myth is that bilingual children end up mixing the two languages. Although one language may have a larger effect than another on a the child will be able to use words from both languages and know the difference between the two. According to Pearson, some people mix on purpose because they like the word or phrase in the other language better.
Our fourth myth is it's too late to raise your child bilingual. When is the appropriate time to start teaching your baby a second language? There have been many disputes, but according to the article, the optimal time is between birth to 3 years old and 4 to 7 years old. Learning a second language is easier for children under 10 and even easier for children under 5 compared with the much greater effort it takes adults, says Barbara Pearson. Although linguists suggest teaching your child a second language anywhere between birth and 3 years old, it is better to start as soon as possible.
Our last and fifth myth is children are like sponges and they'll become bilingual without effort and in no time. It is not true that children can absorb a new language just by listening to it. There has to be some form of structure and consistency when introducing a new language.
How is this article related to our learning of linguistics? In our textbook, there are many points that agree and disagree with the article about bilingual children myths.
Why does growing up with two languages confuse children? Our textbook confirms that bilingual children are actually at an advantage because they have metalinguistic awareness.
Does learning a second language not make a child a slow speech/language developer? As said before, children have the ability to differentiate between the two languages and know what language they are using. This in fact puts them at an advantage because of code switching, which challenges their brains and eventually helps them overcome any delays that may occur.
Do bilingual children really end up mixing the languages? No, because children code switch. Code switching is the ability to use more than one language during a conversation. Why do children code switch? Some languages are used in particular contexts, some languages are used with particular people, and they will avoid words that are difficult to pronounce. Therefore, it is apparent that children do not confuse the languages because they are able to know the meanings of words well enough to switch between languages.
Is it ever too late to raise your child bilingual? No, because there are three types of bilingualism into which a child can fit into. The first one is simultaneous bilingualism, which is where they learn more than one language from birth. The second is sequential bilingualism, which is where they begin learning their second language as a young child. And the third is second language acquisition, which is where they learn their second language later in life.
Are children really like sponges? No, because 25% of their input of language needs to be in a second language. Children must have interaction with that second language. Therefore, children are not simply like sponges because they need help.
Our academic journal talks about how it is true, whether or not it is true if a child is exposed to more than one language that he or she will become confused and not be able to differentiate between them. In this article, it is stated that children do become confused when they are trying to determine which verb ending to use, such as ing. One can imagine that children with SLI first learning Cantonese and then English might be more prone to use lexical verbs without ing when describing actions in the present, according to Leonard.
The article also states that although children use code switching, they sometimes have difficulty using the proper tense for the language they are speaking in. In English, the progressive ing inflection is not problematic for children with SLI. However, for a Cantonese English bilingual child with SLI, use of the progressive in this context could become especially complicated because aspect markers are optional in Cantonese. SLI means specific language impairment.
Okay, so these are our works cited, and we hope that you enjoyed our presentation.